How's it going, ScrubGamers? Welcome back to another video here at ScrubGames, and today we have the next episode in our Road to Finals series, now up at this episode 6, and just like with the last episode, episode 5, this is going to be another one that's similar to it, as the other one was a Understanding Red Shinsenron video, and this one is now understanding the other big beast of the format, because at the moment there's two big decks in the format, being Red Sin and Gogeta, and this one is to understand Red SS4 Gogeta, because when we go to finals, these are going to be the two decks you're probably going to play mostly during the whole tournament. Most likely to play, just like constantly play these two decks, or most likely to actually come up against them. So I thought it'd be a good point in the series to go into understanding what they do and what kind of things you can use to help stifle them and help bring out a win against them. But before we do, feel free to like the video if you do enjoy this series, enjoy my videos, or enjoy my content. Also, leave a comment down below if there's anything you want to see or anything this video does not explain. I'll do my best to answer, and also feel free to subscribe. We're getting very, very close to 500. We might even hit it by the time this comes out. And once we do hit 500, we will do a giveaway, and that also will detail what I'll do when I get to my main goal of 1,000 subs, which currently, by the time it's probably halfway there, come up to halfway there, and as well we do a giveaway every 100 subs, so look out for that. So without further ado, let's get into the video and understand this beast of a deck in SS4 Gogeta. So starting off, you might be thinking, what do I mean by SS4 Gogeta? Well, what we mean is this lead, and even though there's no SS4 Gogeta on this, it's normally referred to as SS4 Gogeta because of the fact that the big boss card of the deck and the Z lead are Gogeta in his SS4 form, sorry, not SS form. And this is one of those decks that gains a ton of value, and unlike the Sin, where it gains a lot of value early but kind of teeter off, this deck is just constantly drawing a ton, keeping a huge hand, and gain a low advantage, and that does a lot. It does that via the leader mainly, because with the leader it can draw quite a few cards, both on awakened and unawakened sides. So we'll start with them from the front side, but we'll say that there is a permanent that is on both sides, which is the first one being you can use your mono red rest mode Saiyan cards in combos. Now it gives a huge benefit because normally if you're attacking with something in your battle area, it's in rest mode, you can't use it, instead its attack is used up. But in this case of this deck, you can swing with one of your mono reds Saiyans, swing with it, put some damage, force some pressure through, and then go ahead and combo off on another swing so you get extra use out of it. Now this is no other deck really has, and makes it like very, very strong, because you can attack with things, then still use them off to power up other attacks. And on the front side of the lead, it has an auto which is unlike most autos that most leaders have, where most leaders have a way to, when they swing, they get some advantage, or an activate main or something like that, but normally with the autos, normally attacking to gain some advantage in some sort of way, with maybe even a cost, like maybe having to take a life or something like that. This one has a little bit different one, it's a more of a searcher one. So it's once per turn, and it's either player's turn as well, this can be triggered just once per turn. When you use a card in a combo, you look at the top 3 cards of your deck, and it's a 1 red Saiyan card or 1 red Unison card with specific cost of 2 among them to your hand, and place the rest at the bottom of the deck in any order. And this is great because you're grabbing any red Saiyan, doesn't matter what Saiyan, any red Saiyan, super combo, secret rare, any costing, you name it, any red Saiyan, as long as it's a red card with the Saiyan trait, then you can grab it. And also it gets you also can look for a Unison as well, so it also looks for something else that's useful and good to the archetype, being the Unison, and you're mainly going to be grabbing the one that comes to the archetype as well. And where it's just putting the rest at the bottom of the deck, you're filtering through, you're not shuffling your deck to kind of potentially find the same cards again. You're filtering through so you can like find what you want and go basically see through your entire deck, which is one big benefit. And when you awaken, you've got an easy way to awaken, which just like Sin, you have awaken at 4 or less life, or you have an alternative awakening condition, and in this case it's having 2 or more energy, and both Son Goku GT and Vegeta GT card in your Z energy, so one of each, one Goku, one Vegeta GT in your Z energy, and you draw 1, untap 1, take your life down to 6, flip over. Now, taking yourself down to 6 isn't too bad, like it's not the greatest, taking yourself down to 5 would be perfect, but taking yourself down to 6 is still decent. It gives you a few more cards, and it doesn't matter. It puts your opponent in a position where it doesn't matter if they attack into your lead or what or not. They give you the cards in your hand because they go into your hand no matter what. So they can either leave you to awaken to take those 2 cards from hand, gain more cards in hand, or hit you and give you cards earlier than when you were going to get them anyway. And then with the Awaken side, once again, it's, as I said, it keeps that permanent, but it also has a new permanent, well, where your Gogeta GT cards can attack your opponent's battle cards in active mode, and when your Gogeta GT cards attack your opponent's battle cards, they skip their defense step. Your opponent skip their defense step, which means if you attack with a Gogeta GT card into one of your opponent's battle cards, they can't do anything in response in their defense step, which is like where you normally do your combos. And while the big boss card is unaffected, its first auto on your lead, Awaken side, allows you to actually affect it and actually allow you to have this permanent on your big boss card. Because the auto is once per turn, when you activate a Union Fusion skill, which is how you play your big boss, this card gains Gogeta GT for the turn. Now this is relevant because the Gogeta GT card has a permanent where it's unaffected by anything that's not Gogeta GT. So by the lever giving itself the trait allows it to affect your big boss card, which is how they basically just drop it and clear your board, which you can't respond to. And then the main way they draw a load of cards, and I get a lot of advantage, is through the last auto, which is when this card attacks, you draw a card, then play up to 1 red saying card with entry cost of rest 1, free hand in rest mode, and we all know it doesn't matter if it's in rest mode because it's going to be drawing it, it's going to be being able to combo it anyway. And this is a big way of how they draw cards, and we'll see that in a little bit. But like we did with Sin, we'll start off with the Awaken side and go over like what you're going to make me do with this deck. So the main thing they're going to do is to get a turn 1 play, and one of the best things they've got to play is this Son Goku Adventure's Advent. Because this is a nice little searcher for the deck. Came out from the set 17 with the trio deck, the Spaceship Goku deck, Spaceship Trio deck. And this is a nice little one because not only is it a turn 1 play, you can use this little searcher to find some piece of your archetype to actually get yourself awakened, get your draw power going, but it's also a Goku GT, so it's also one of the 2 pieces you'll need in your Z-Energy to be able to awaken when you're using your alternative awakening, which is really nice. And a nice thing as well is it also, remember, since you've got a permanent where you can combo off your rest mode saying cards, you can even play this and then you can swing with it and then combo it off in another swing to get full use out of it, which is very, very dumb. And also, it's also very nice in that it looks at top 5 cards of your deck, add up to 1 red saying card with entry cost of 4 or less, or 1 red unison card with a specified cost of 1 amongst your hand and shuffle your deck. So it's a nice little searcher, and this is the few ways that you get to shuffle your deck. So say if among them you see your say if like you do any searches and you put to the bottom deck and you say something you don't want to grab, but you want to see later, you're not going to be able to like see it unless you go through your entire deck, because most of the archetype is filtering through your deck, whereas this allows you to shuffle it back in if you need be. And not only that, it also has other cards that you can play on turn 1, but these are more for if you're going second, and that is the main way this card draws a load, with the prepping the brawl cards being Goku and Vegeta. Now they both have a permanent which makes them so they're able to be played off most of the effects by if your leader is basically this leader, you reduce the energy cost of this card in your hand by 3, making them technically 1 cost. So for the unison we're going to see, and for this lead on its front side, its Awaken side, sorry, it can be played off, and that's relevant because these cards draw you at least 2 cards, replacing themselves and getting your +1. Because they both have the same autos. First one being when this card is played, you draw 1 card, then switch this card to rest mode, then place this card as soon as drop at the end of the turn. So it's a good thing that it switches to rest mode, because otherwise you can just play this out for 1 for 20k to swing with it, then combo it off, that'd be busted. But essentially you play them, they draw a card, switch to rest mode, but then if they're not used, which they're mainly going to be used in a combo, and if they're not used, they're going to drop at the end of the turn. So normally you're going to play these and then swing and then combo off as soon as possible to trigger the second auto, and also make sure they don't go to drop and get wasted. Because the second auto is when this card is used in the combo from your battle area, you draw 1 card. So essentially if you go in second, you're normally going to play one of these, you're going to pay 1, play it out, draw a card, switch to rest mode, swing with something, combo this from your battle area, draw another card, so you just +1 is basically like a cantrip. And you filter through more cards for your deck, and then these meet the requirements for the Awakening as well, to Awakening with the alternate version, alternate way to awaken, by having them in your Z-Energy ready to flip over. And then we have the Unison, which you're not going to play turn 2 at the earliest, so you can actually get full value, and even makes good use of the 2 we just saw. And is an insanely good Unison as well, because if you remember, Red did have a very strong 2 specified cost Unison, being the Piccolo Junior one, but that got hit on the hit by ban with a ban, well, not with a ban, but a limit, so put it down to 1. So Red would kind of like had a little gap in like decent 2 specified cost Unison. Like they had some interesting ones, but nothing to really replace the draw 1/1, which was Piccolo. But luckily, being an SS4 Gogeta, being one of basically the strongest character in Dragon Ball, they had to give him a busted Unison as well. And this is a great one because it's a 15k with 2 specified cost, and it replaces itself when it's played as well. Like with most of these cards, when it's played, it's going to replace itself, and this is through its auto, where when it's played, you look at the top 3 cards of your deck, add any red card amongst your hand, doesn't matter, as long as it's got red in, could be a multicolor with red in, any card that's got red in as one of its colors, or as a color on the card, and add it to your hand, then place the rest of the cards at the bottom of your deck. So you replace it with any red card from the top 3, which can get you anything super combo, counterplay, secret rare, blah blah blah, you name it, as long as it's red, you can grab it. Meaning you've not negged anything from hand, you've just paid 2 to play this amazing Unison. And that's not all, that's not really all, because then you get these amazing marker effects, which the best one, and the main one you're going to only be using to keep it around for a while, is its +2, where activate main, play up to 1 red battle card, energy cost of 1 from your hand in rest mode. I remember the 2 we just saw, the Goku and the Vegeta, they both are reduced by 1 as long as in hand, as long as you have this leader as a leader. So you can play off the Unison as well, so you can play out both out to get more draw cycle for your deck and find everything you want. And that's a +2 as well, so not many Unisons that are specific cost 2 have a +2 one, and if they are, they have quite a low power, like we've seen in Zeno. Zeno's a 9k, so it's a lot easier to run over. But this is a 15k with a +2, so it's going to have 4 markers after it's dropped, and that's going to be hard to get through. And plus, Red has quite a decent amount of defense as well to defend their Unisons. But that's not all, because if you ignore the Unison, I think I'm not going to worry about that, and just going to ignore it and try and kill, you're then going to leave it up to be able to use the second marker skill, which is a -4, which can actually allow it to put a lot of pressure in and give a very good way to kind of even finish if need be. And that is an activate battle, which is this guy gets 15k power and double strike for the battle. So if you just leave this alone and let it just accumulate markers and ignore it to try and finish, if you don't kill your opponent and they've got this big ass Unison with a ton of markers on, they just swing at your lead and just -4 to make it a 30k double striker base for the battle to try and have another way to close out. So if it wasn't bad enough that it had this Unison that can just help it gain tons of advantage and just can be very sticky, it also has a way to use it to finish off if need be and add extra pressure. So this deck is pretty snapped. And these are the cards that you're normally going to have to help defend it. Now, Yamcha recently got hit on the list, going to the 1, being limited, which is nice because it made it so it had some insane defense to defend the Unison, and the Unison just allowed to gain so much advantage. It was worth using 1 card to defend the Unison, because the Unison could net you quite a few cards. But now it's limited to 1, it's not as hard to, it's not as much of an issue to worry about, but you still have to worry about that 1 copy. Now, it's going to come out like every ever limited card, where if they have it, they have it. That's fair enough, that's how luck works in the game. But if they don't have it, you're in a little bit better position to actually drop things and actually push through and try and get rid of it. But not only that, where the Unison is a 15k, normally what people try to do to push through it is just swing with 15ks, just go right, this match the power, take a marker off it. But Red has a decent actually extra card to help defend it, which is Wolfang Fist. And the good thing about this is it goes through barrier and meets all conditions. As long as you've got the Unison, they can play it for free, and negs something that's attacking as a battle card or a leader card by 15k ignoring barrier. And the annoying thing about this is if you try to do the whole strategy of just swinging at the Unison with a 15k to go 15 to 15, they can always use Wolfang Fist, and not only do this to make it so they're protecting the Unison, make it harder to attack, but if it's 15k or less the thing you're attacking with, it's gonna be gone. It's gonna get reduced to 0 and be put to the drop by game mechanic, meaning that you're going to have to swing with something higher than 15, but even then, if you swing with something higher than 15k, they're still going to use Wolfang Fist on it, and then you're going to have to combo up, which means if you swing with it just 20k, and they use Wolfang Fist, you have to combo another 10k, which is either super combo or 2 cards from your hand normally, to be able to try and push up to allow the damage to go through and get the marker off. So they've paid 1 to kind of make it harder for you to get a marker off of it, and then you're paying potentially more than one or wasting using a super combo which you don't want to waste against this deck to allow you to put some markers on it. So they got some strong defense in that. And then we go over to when it flips over. So by then, normally when you got the unison out, you're going to be flipping over, getting the so you can get your full advantage of the deck. And now you've got the benefit of being a 15k, and now when you swing, you can gain a lot of advantage. And as we said before, this is mainly how you're going to get advantage off this. And you're normally going to be replacing one card in your hand with 3 brand new ones. And that's through basically with the lead, you swing, trigger the second auto, which when this card attacks, you draw 1. So you draw 1 off that, so you've +1 for swinging. Then you play one of these 2 off the effect to play it off in rest mode, and then their effect will trigger when they're played. They draw a card, so you've basically +1 still because you replace this card in your hand with a new card placed to the board. Then you combo this card off to allow you to draw the second auto. So you've drawn 3 brand new cards, and basically replace one of these cards in hand with 3 brand new cards from swinging. And that's really annoying because they're just gaining so much advantage to filter for the deck really quickly, and no other deck draws this amount of cards as easy as this card do. While also most of the swings being 20k, the force either using super combos or more cards at your hand to help defend, or even then just going to 20, making every card 20 to once again allow you to Z charge as well. So they're comboing up the Z charge and forcing you to use either more cards from your hand than you need to, or waste super combos that you don't want to be wasting. And not only that, by comboing these cards, playing these cards off the leader swing or the unison swing when you combo them, it allows them to play these cards, which are like little mini threats, like little mini boss cards. And these are known to deal with because not only are they 20k 4 drops, which are the base standard, they also have strike skill. They also have annoying skills like Goku has double strike and Vegeta has critical, so some pressure which you don't want to be letting through to your lead. And they're not going to be really stopped from coming down because they both have deflect too. Now they can only be played once per turn because they're effective playing for 1. Really like the pseudo rival method is activate battle and limit 1. But I know what they need to do. They're very easy for the conditions. They just need to pay 1 red, have this leader as your leader, have 2 or more energy, and then have 1 or more of the other card in your battle area, in your combo area, to play this card from your hand. So essentially, you play Goku, and you have 2 or more energy, and combo Vegeta to play the Goku out, and vice versa. Have 1 Goku in your combo area, and pay 1 energy, and 2 more energy, and pay 1 red energy. Sorry, to arrival in the Vegeta. And not only that, they have 2 very decent autos as well. First one allows them to get advantage by the Goku. When it's played, you draw a card, so you replace yourself in hand. And the Vegeta allowing you to minus something by 15k. That's a battle card. Well, one of your opponent's battle cards by 15k when it's played. So you normally you replace the card in hand to draw further with Goku, or you can use Vegeta to either get rid of something, make it harder, make it easy to run over something, or give a good way to defend a little bit easier, because these can be played either in your turn or your opponent's turn through combat. And not only that, they also have ways to give the leader a bit of a nice little boost with their second auto. And with the second auto, they have to pay 1 red energy to use them as a cost. And it's essentially when they're using the combo from the battle area, they gain extra 5k combo power, so they essentially become 1 cost 10ks. And also they give your leader a certain skill for the turn. So Goku will give double strike to your leader for the turn, and Vegeta will give critical to your leader for the turn. So there's nice ways they can just bring these out, swing with them off another swing with them, and then swing with the lead, and then combo them off to try and get that skill to put more pressure on. And these are also nice ways to help combo out as well, because when we see with the Z-Lead, the Z-Leader requires you to be at 4 less life and tapped out to be able to Z-Awaken. So these are nice easy ways to help be able to, if you need to, force yourself to tap out so you can Z-Awaken whenever you want to. And as well as that, we have good ways with the lead. So as I mentioned, the leader goes down to 6 when it does the alternate awakening condition, and while 6 life is not too bad, it's not 5. Like 5 life is a perfect one because it allows you to have access to the token negates to use to defend yourself. But luckily every deck is now equipped with and can play the SSB Vegeta Surmounting the Impossible. This is a handy dandy Z battle card that just requires 1 energy and 1 Z energy to come out, and he allows you to put yourself down a life, so control your life a little bit. So if you need to go down 6 to 5 or 5 to 4 or 5 to 3, or like from one number to an if you need to go down 1 life to get to a certain checkpoint to have something live, this Vegeta is a perfect way to do that, because when it comes down, when you play it, which is just, for, as I said, for 1 energy and 1 Z energy. You place 1 card from your hand at the bottom of your deck, so put something in your deck, or something that you didn't want in your hand back in your deck at the bottom. And then you can take up to 1 life, so it's optional if you want to take a life as well, and then draw a card. So not only are you gaining advantage off that, as well as taking your life down to a certain amount you want, going from 6 to 5, you actually gain 2 cards out of it as well. Because remember, the Z deck is essentially your hand and available at any point. And by using this, put yourself down for 6 to 5, you then open up the token negates to be able to use to then help stop a potential strike attack, to end the attack, give you a token that you can help block or use as combo power, then put yourself down from 5 to 4, so your super combos are now live. And super combos you're normally going to be using are the Ranit Saiyan Youth, because it's just one of the handy, very strong super combos we had from set 11, where you get to, once you're 4 less life and all your energy is red or the same color, so in this case you need to have a red lead, 4 less life and all your energy being red, which you most likely will be doing in this. Remember, multicolors count as well, so if you have a multicolor card that's red in every color, that still has red in it, so it triggers for this. And you get the bottom deck a card that you don't want, be a 10k combo, and draw 2 cards as well. So you get the bottom deck something instead to basically draw more cards, and these are very, very handy super combos. And not only that, they also have a Never card as part of the archetype to make it easier to defend, and that is SS4 Son Goku Digging Deep. This card allows you to, like with Sin, boost up your lead to make it harder for your opponent to push through damage and easier for you to defend. And it does it through comboing as well. Unlike with Sin, it does it through comboing, so it's actually towards charging the Z energy as well as defending yourself, whereas for Sin, it's an extra card that just gives yourself a boost, but you could activate multiple, where this one, so you got some benefits. Since one isn't a combo card to help charge the energy, but it can be used you can use multiple of them in a single turn, whereas this one, this adds to your Z energy but can only be used once per turn because it's limit 1, and that is if your leader is this leader, and your life is 4 or less. When this card is using the combo from your hand, you can choose any one of your cards and get 5k power for the turn, so you're normally going to put on your lead to help defend a little bit easier. And it's searchable as well, because there is also a Vegeta that you can discard to search for a Goku, a GT Goku, and that's 20k power or less, and 4 cost or less. So you can always search this out with the Vegeta, and also some of the other Goku pieces you need to get that extra bit of consistency in it. And then we come up to the big boss card, one of the most fearsome things about this, that even from release, people were calling for bans and saying it's broken, it's snapped, because it actually pretty much is. And that is the big boss card in SS4 Gogeta Triumphant Together. Now this is a massively busted card, because starting off, it can't really be stopped by anything, because it's in that little range being outside the 3 negates and stuff, by having deflect me at 8 costs. So it's unaffected by any of the counter plays that would potentially do something to it by having deflect, and out the range of Frieza, which it wouldn't matter anyway because it's permanent. It also has triple strike, so it's allowed to push through plenty of free damage, especially on a 35k body. That's pretty huge. And it also has blocker, because it'd be able to block as well the turn after. So from then on, it restarts itself at the end of the turn to then be able to block. And it comes down as early as turn 4 because of a Unifusion skill, which by paying 4 red, drawing a card as part of the cost. Remember, that's going to be relevant for a bit. And you discard a red Goku GT and a red Vegeta GT. Remember, for Unifusion the power has to be the same. That's why most of the cards in there are 4 cost and 20k, so they got that synergy to be used for fusion. And then not only that, it has this absurdly busted permanent, which basically says it is unaffected. Well, it isn't affected by any non-Gogeta GT cards skills. And when this card is in a battle, your opponent can activate non-super combo skills, and you skip your offensive step. So essentially, it's unaffected by anything that isn't a Never card that's character is Gogeta GT. So that's the relevant thing why the first auto is on the lead. So when you do Unifusion this out, it makes it so this card is affected by your leader's second permanent, to essentially be able to swing at your opponent's entire board, whether it's active or not, and make them skip their defensive step on battle cards. And when it swings, as soon as it declares an attack, your opponent can't activate anything unless that card has super combo on it. So they can't use any negates or anything like that, any counters, any counter plays or anything like that, unless super combo is written on the card. And not only that, but also you don't have to worry about adding any power to it, because then when it attacks, it skips its offensive step, which doesn't matter at 35k. But if you ever play anything that's got like 40k power or more, then it can't swing over anything because it can't. You skip your offensive steps, so you can't play activate battles or combos or anything when it attacks anything, which is not so bad. So it means when it's attacking your board, unless it's 40k or higher, it's just going to swing over and there's something you or they're going to do about it. And when it swings into your lead, they can't combo up, but it's still going to be a 35k triple striker coming down, which you're going to have to either use 2 super combos and another 5k to combo out, which is half your super combos you're allowed in the deck, or you're going to take the hit. And this is why it's so powerful, the deck, because where they're swinging and comboing at the 20k on my swings, either forcing you to use a super combo to out combo easily and not take the damage, or use up more of your hand to have a low hand size to deal with it if you don't have super combos. So this is the card you want to save super combos for, but the deck is designed to kind of like keep pushing through the kind of force you to use super combos to out combo everything swings, so this can come in and wreck. And it's also got 2 autos. If you thought that wasn't enough, it's got 2 autos as well, where at the start of your charge phase, place this card as in its drop, so it means as soon as they get to their turn and get their charge phase and actually hit their charge phase, this goes straight to drop. So it's only around for a turn, just like in the anime. And its other auto is when an opponent's battle card is KO'd by this card's attack, or at the end of the turn, it switches this card to active mode. So essentially, in combination with this, it just comes down, swings at opponent's battle card, they can't do anything about it, and then you're going to be attacking over it unless it's 40k or more. Then a restand, keep doing that until it then clears your opponent's board and swings at the lead, which makes it so powerful. And then in the turn, if you're not dead yet, it restands so it can then block as well to defend him. It's absolutely busted. And also in combination, when this is normally brought down, it's normally going to be followed up with the Ever Fusion being Vegito, which is the secret for the deck, SS4 Gogeta, Light in the Dark. And this is going to be relevant because, remember, both these cards are fucking deflect as well. And this card comes down for overall 6, but luckily it's only for if your leader is a mono red Saiyan card, so it's limited to what decks it can be used in. But normally by the time this comes down, you're going to have 4 energy, which is going to make it the auto live, which is if you have 4 more mono red energy, which you're most likely going to have. When this card is played, your opponent reveals their hand, so you get to check your opponent's hand. It's dumb, and you get to choose up to 1 battle card with 35k power or less and in it, and your opponent discards it. Then you get to choose one of your mono red leader cards, and until the start of your next turn it gains 10k power, and this card gains quadruple strike. So when you get to turn 4, the one thing you're going to have to fear is if you use any super combos up beforehand, then you've got less super combos to help deal with this Gogeta swing. And not only that, they're normally going to follow up with the secret rare as well, to be able to have a look at your hand, the Ripper super combat, so you've got even less to deal with this 8 drop, and the 8 drop's going to come down, then go ahead and swing it, clear your board, swing your leader to push through damage, and if you're not dead by then, they've got the Vegeta to also swing, and their lead is a 25k base for the turn to make it harder for you to try and finish them off, so you have to use the Z lead, and even push through more damage as well, and have to, if they put you to 1, finish off with the Z lead as well, which is not enjoyable in the slightest. But there are things you can help use them to kind of like mitigate this and make it harder to do. So you've got things like Unison of Fury for yellow, where it comes down, uses -1 to basically make it so your opponent can't attack with battle cards that are higher than energy cost. So both of these coming down for 8 costs. So unless your opponent wants to get that all the way up to 8 energy, they're not going to be able to attack with it as long as you use those. And why it is quite easy for it this deck to clear by just swinging at it, it also puts a stop to most of the air battle cards, so it comes down to leader Unison can normally attack to try and get markers off this. And yellow being quite defensive means it come down and not worry. But then the issue with these, as well as Mecha Bar as well, that can come down for 2 energy, call the name of the 8 drop, the trait and the cost, and they can't play it for the next turn, meaning you on their turn 4, they're not going to be able to drop it to clear your board, so you're safe for a turn, but that only stalls you off for a turn, say with the Vegito. And while these are kind of things to hold it off for a turn, they're always like essentially make it so one player of your opponent is unavailable, but they've got so many other players that they can spam with the 4 drop pseudo rivals. They got the Z deck as well to make use of. So these, while can hold off the 8 drop if you're more scared of that, don't stop them from still being able to have a turn and actually be still pushing through quite a bit of damage. And the card that really is the only way to properly stop and trap them is Dirty Burst, and this is only accessible for blue. And this is the best way to trap it because of its counterplay skill, which by paying 1 blue along with this cost as well, so you're paying 2 blue for this, because you're paying for the skill and for the card itself. You draw a card and your opponent can't attack with battle cards with energy cost of 7 or more for the turn. And what Gogeta GT 8 drop can't be affected by any skills. This card is not affecting the Gogeta but the player itself. So where it affects the player itself, they can't actually try to attack with the card, meaning that they can drop it. You play this in response, and they've played the 8 drop, but they can't attack with it, so they've kind of like used up a whole turn. And where it costs 4 energy, that could be quite costly for them. So this is the only way we'll be able to trap it. Where most other cards and colours, they've got ways to kind of postpone it, but they already can see that is postponed. With this card, they're not going to expect it until it's actually dropped, because you can activate encounter window 1 or 2. And then some of the other things you can do to help with the deck is with the leader itself. So with the leader, as I said, it gains three brand new cards by sacrificing 1 when it swings. So it's swinging, drawing 1, playing out 1, that then draws a card, then comboing that card off to draw a card and get 20k. Now if you want to stifle that draw power of them 3 brand new cards, you can use things like hard negates and things to stop it. So hard negates are a good one to stop it because it means it stops the attack. So they can still essentially just swing, draw, play out a 4 drop to draw a card, so they technically replace 1 card in hand with 2, so essentially just they just +1'd, but then they can still attack with other cards to try and still combo off that card to get an extra card value out of it, and still charge the energy. So if you've got multiple negates, because they're only really swinging with the leader and the unison most of the time, they're not really going to have much left out. So if you can just stifle their swings by negating their swings so they can't attack, and actually get the combat fully through. They can't combo the cards, so they're wasting that 4 drop and not getting that full value out of it. And one of the best cards to help deal with and screw over the lead is Release from Evil. It's a really nice one because you select the attacking card and ignoring barrier, you negate the skills for the turn. And the good thing about Release from Evil is that it negates the skills for the turn, meaning that that first permanent, as says you can combo with rest mode red Sane cards in combos, is no longer in effect. So they can play out those 4 drops that can be comboed from the battle area to draw a card. But since they come in rest mode, they'll still get the draw cards, so they'll still get the merit +1 like most leaders do, but it's drawing a card, and they're replacing that 4 drop in hand with it on board, and then replacing it in hand. But they're no longer for the turn be able to combo those off, so they won't be able to, so that card is then good at the end of the turn, good to drop and not get its full value out of it. So there's some nice cards like that. And as well, if you want to defend against the 8 drop a little bit easier or help stifle it off, yellow probably has the best tools because it has Lord Slug, which is a nice one. Because if you remember, for the 8 drop, as part of his Union Fusion cost, the cost is to draw a card as part of it while sending the 2 from the hand. Now if they can't draw, they can't drop it, and Slug is a nice little card where it's in rest mode and it's got another battle card in play. Its permanent is triggered, which is bond 2. When its card is in rest mode, your opponent can add cards to their hand from the deck using non-leader card skills, essentially meaning that while its card is in the board in rest mode with another battle card on the board with it, your opponent can't drop the 8 drop because they can't do the draw as part of the cost, so they can't play it. So Lord Slug is a nice thing for yellow decks to help stifle the 8 drop from coming down, and make it so they can't just bring that big beat stick that's hard to interact with and just clear your board and smash through your life as well. And not only that, it has a nice little card that's in the Z deck that every yellow deck has access to, which is SSB Son Goku Vol Defender. This is brilliant because it just requires 3 energy, which yellow can easily get to, and just 2 Z energy, so that's just 2 cards in the combo, which you want to be doing to defend yourself for pushing through. And you bring out a Deflect Barrier 25k, which is nice stats, hard to interact with, can't be stopped from coming down, and a nice little power level to push through damage and make it harder to out combo it. And it's got its first also is very nice in that when this card is played, you choose up to one of your opponent's leader cards, unison cards, or battle cards in rest mode, and it can't attack until the end of your opponent's next turn. And this is really nice because of the fact that they're going to be attacking with the lead anyway. They're always going to be attacking with the lead to get a full value out of it. So once they attack with the lead, when it comes to your turn, it's going to be in rest mode for you to play this. Make it so next turn your opponent can attack with the leader, and the only way you can really try and get around that is by Z leading, by dropping the Z leader. And they're not going to waste the swing with it until they can actually definitely kill you. And they're either going to normally leave the Z leader for defense if they really need the defense, or to try and push through if you're on 1 life. So it's a really nice way to finish off. And it also has a handy second auto as well to help out, where white's in rest mode. When your opponent plays a card, you can place one card from your Z energy in the drop area and choose one of your opponent's battle cards or unison cards, which are the rest mode. So if they do, like say with the unison, if you have this in rest mode, stop your opponent's leader from attacking, and they go, okay, I'm going to use the unison effect, a +2 to play out a 4-drop, you can then go, okay, I'm going to use the effect while it's in rest mode, sack a card from Z energy, switch the unison to rest mode so the unison can't attack. Now the cat attack with lead, the cat attack with unison, and they've just played a 4-drop out that's going to draw my card, replacement card in hand, but there's nothing to attack with to be able to drop it. So I have to play more energy to try and get something on the board to attack, which most of the cards they play are via combat, and you're level off at a turn. Especially if you're in Kid Q, you can kind of loop this to kind of like keep them locked out of swing with lead by swing with the ape, resting all the cards that aren't energy, and then bring out a never 3-drop and then keep going. Your leader can't swing to kind of stifle their advantage, because the more they can't attack, the less they can draw into. And then also you've got other things like counter plays are a good thing. So when the lead swings and plays a card, that opens up a counter window, and there's some really nice cards that help stop it by either stopping them, like make counter play and stop their skills from being in effect, the cards they play, so they can't get the draw and stuff like that, or you can just stop them from even entering play. So a nice one that green has is Cooler, which some green decks can play, and it's a nice one because it can come down for 1 energy as a counter play, and essentially makes it so the card being played is played in the drop area instead. So one of the good thing is this: you swing if they swing with the lead and draw 1 and go, they go right, I'm going to activate the auto, which is what a part of playing him. You have to play it blind on the counter window 1, but still it's a fair enough trade-off. You just go blind in counter window 1, play at the Cooler to say that if you do play something, it's going straight to drop, and then they just draw 1 card and either attempt to play the card, which would then go straight to drop and get no effects, or they just don't play a card. And if by not playing a card, they essentially do whatever leader does and just draws 1 on swing instead of drawing into 3 cards. You essentially suffer the draw, so instead of just swing with lead and replacing a card in hand with 3 brand new cards, they're just swinging and drawing 1, like most other leaders, so stuffing the draw. So they're not drawing a load, they're just drawing a simple 1 that every deck does. And even red has access to something that's similar with Novemeber, which with this new red unison is actually really nice and can help you get your life down as well. So with most red decks, how they're awakening with, well, the top 2 at the moment are awakening with high life. They can use this where they take their life down to help get themselves to a life point till they want, while also stopping things as well, because it's the same kind of thing where you need to pay the cost of being a red lead and choose 1 card in your life, placing the drop, and if the battle card being played is 20k or less, placing the drop in instead. And it can be paid for 1 less by having a red unison with a specified cost of 2 on board. And this is another way, just like with Cooler, to essentially stop the card your opponent's leader could potentially play, put to the drop so they get less of a draw and have less cards to use. Because if they can't draw as much, they can't draw into more answers, they draw into the pieces they want. So if you stifle the draw, you have a little bit of better time against it. And then we have Brody Crown. Like, while Brody Crown got a, well, it got in a errata on the list to make it so it can't be played from anywhere by skills anymore. So you can't just free play off the unison to free play out. Well, still, that is a nice little thing, preventing them from having that, from any red deck from having that. They can still play it, and it's still a very strong card, because paying 1 energy to play this to try and either bait your opponent to play a counter play, like bait out the what's it called, the dirty burst they might have, or just basically punish them for having 2 energy left open. Paying 1 energy for that is still fine. You know, it's not as great as free playing it, but still, this is still a strong card. So even though the permanent is effect, it just makes it a little bit less busted, but it's still an absolutely strong card. So you still have to watch out for if you do have 2 energy open, because they don't always want to drop the 8-drop down as early as turn 4. They can have other plays to play around it. If you got 2 energy open and you got blue, they're not going to want to play into it as long as they're knowledgeable, and they're still going to play this and punish you for leaving 2 energy open or force you to waste an energy. And when you got 2 less energy, they can play other things out and still get value off it. So watch out for that. And then we have the secret, not the secret, the Z lead. Now this is the busted part, because they don't really, it's just like with Sin, it's got a free Z lead, and luckily they can only include 1 in the deck, which is nice. And it's got a lot of restrictions, but it's really strong. It helps them make sure they cannot die from a swing, and even set up so the 8-drop stays around. Because it only requires you to be at 4 less life, have all your energy in rest mode, and you make sure you skip your next charge phase during your next turn. And you require for that as well, the only real cost is freeze the energy, which you could easily get access to. So if your opponent if you're going all in, and they're and this is a kill shot, and they don't have less than freeze the energy, they can't drop this. But if they do, you have to watch out because they can always just drop this to make sure they don't die. And it does have a permanent as well, so if they do drop this, they then cut off from if this card is in a battle. So as soon as you declare an attack on it, they can't activate extra card skills to defend themselves or use anything in a combo. Now they don't really use anything in a combo because it is a 100k leader, which is very hard to out combo anyway. But that's where cards like the Mirror Created Zorb come in as a good side deck choice to bring in. So if they go to 1 and they go on the Z lead, you can still try and push over it with a mirror to go up to a huge amount of power. And this is not around forever, because just like in the anime, is only around for a little bit, because of its auto at the end of your opponent's next turn. So at the end of your opponent's turn, switches card to active mode and remove from the game. And it switches to active mode because remember, it skips your charge phase, which means in the charge phase, the charge phase includes drawing a card, untapping everything, and charging a card. So by skipping the charge phase, they don't get a draw, don't get any untap, and they don't get the charge any energy. Which is why at the end of your opponent's turn they take this off and switch the leader to active mode, so they can still use their active leader to swing and stuff like that. And now this is very strong because remember we have the 8-drop, which as an auto, which at the start of your charge phase you place this card in your owner's drop, and by dropping the Z lead to defend yourself and not die with the 8-drop on board, you then skip your charge phase, so the 8-drop doesn't drop off and it's there to swing again and push through another 3 damage at your opponent's lead that they can't stop and can't use any skills that aren't super combos as well. So they've ripped out almost all your super combos. You can have a harder time dealing with this a second time, but if you can, you'll be in a better spot, but most likely you're going to be low on resources by this point. But do remember that if your opponent does do this and the 8-drop survives, where the Z leader comes off, they use it. So if they use it defensively, go into the Z lead, it comes to their turn. They comes to the end of your turn. They switch the leader to active mode and the 8-drop to active mode and remove the Z leader from game. They get a turn. They don't draw, they don't charge, they don't untap anything. They just have their leader. They have whatever is left in their hand. Their a leader in active mode and an 8-drop in active mode. And where the 8-drop isn't affected by anything that's not a Gogeta GT, your leader's auto that makes it a GT is only when you activate Union Fusion, so it turns pass since then, so it's no longer in effect. So it means now the 8-drop cannot clear your board and doesn't skip your defensive step on battle card swings. So the 8-drop can no longer just clear your board with you unable to out combo or do anything about it. Sure, you can't negate it still or anything like that, but now you have the chance to out combo it, make it not worth it. So they're normally going to go straight for your lead, which once again you can't respond to going into, but then you're still cut off of effects, just makes it a little bit easier. And that's how sometimes they might finish off a game, when they might just put a lot of pressure with 8-drop, and sometimes if you're on a very low hand size, then they can always just make sure they defend easily with the Z lead, they keep the 8-drop around and make sure they can try and finish you off with that. Or they might even just finish off the 8-drop by just using the 8-drop to push down to 1, then using the Z lead to finish, because remember, while they're Z lead, they can't combo or activate extra cards. But if they do a load of combos before and activate stuff, then Z lead, that's absolutely fine, because it doesn't stop you from having cards in your combo area. It just means while you have the Z lead on your lead, they can't use combos. But if they use it before going Z lead, that's absolutely legit. And that is the end of this episode. That's all that I really have for it, because I haven't played this deck much, but I think I have a good enough understanding about it. But mainly what you want to try and do with this deck is stifle the draw by just stopping the 4-drops from coming down, stopping the attacks from going through because they can't hit the full value of it, and just make sure you're clearing the unison before going for the lead. Just make sure that unison's gone, because they only have 4 copies of it and it requires 2 to play it. If you're getting rid of that, it's cutting down the extra draw. You do have to go through a few hurdles, like with their Wolfang Fist, but at least now they only have 1 Yamcha instead of 3 or 4 copies to drop on it. And make sure to like hold off the super combos until they have the 8 drop, so you can up combo that and just avoid wasting super combos against this deck, because that's the easier way to deal out combo this behemoth of a boss monster that shouldn't have been printed. But that's it from me today. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this episode, and I hope you enjoyed the series. We'll have the next 3 episodes up next week, going over a little bit more about other decks and things to help you prepare. Remember, this is a 12-part series, so we're halfway through, and I keep going until we get to finals. So thank you for watching. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now.